What's going on, everybody? Welcome into a very special edition, a Omaha edition of the Sunbelt Syndicate. The boys at 3B are back at you. Seth starting us off on the road tonight. Where are you at again here, Seth?
Crossville, Tennessee. Good to be back after some contract negotiations, a couple holdouts, but we're all back together tonight.
Wait a minute. You're getting paid?
Yeah, you didn't know?
No, shoot. All right, Don, we got to talk after this.
Well, I don't know who's paying him because it ain't me. I wish it was. Yeah, it is. Good to be back. I'm glad we get to do this before this College World Series officially kicks off. Marv, you just got back from, what'd you say, Charlottesville, Virginia?
No, I was at the Homestead in Hot Springs, Virginia for a work conference the past couple of days, but I drove through Charlottesville on 64 on the way home.
Gotcha. And you said hey to Coach Pollard as he's now the official new coach at UVA, right?
Yeah, I mean, there was a really nice car at the bank there, so I'd assume that was him cashing that check.
I love it. I love it. Ben James, and no surprise to anybody, the first one to say, what's up, y'all? What's going on, Ben? Glad to see you back, man, and hopefully we can have some fun tonight. This is obviously a focused show, mostly on Coastal Carolina, of course, and obviously on Omaha in general. We will touch on some of the other games that'll be going on. We are not experts on those. Hell, we're probably not really experts on Coastal or Arizona, right?
Getting
a little bit.
Yeah, we're getting there.
Yeah, we're definitely getting better. I think Ben is with pretty much the rest of the country, really, with pulling for Coastal Carolina and Murray State. I know Murray State's going to have a large portion of people pulling for them. I know, Seth, you even said you definitely going to be pulling for them. The nice part is they're on opposite sides of the bracket, so we can pull for both right now, and it's not really harmful for us, right?
I think Coastal versus Murray State in the final would be, obviously, if you're a fan of any of the other teams that are in the tournament, that's not what you want to see, but like the underdog loving American audience would love to see it.
Yeah. I think it's pretty easy to say everybody wins if that ends up being the final matchup. That'd be pretty sweet. I mean, I think even Coastal fans would realistically tell you if they lost to anybody, losing to Murray State would be the one that they could kind of live with and be kind of okay with. Obviously, they don't want that to happen. But I think that is one that this one is a lot of people want this one. Ben wants Arkansas to lose. I think if LSU and Arkansas could both lose in the first round, that'd be great. But luckily, one of them will take the other one out. We do well, not necessarily, I guess, right? It is double elimination.
It's a double elimination, yeah. So they'll go to a loser bracket, but they do get to play each other first. So somebody's got to fight out of that loser bracket, and that's never easy.
No, definitely not. We are live here on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. We're going to go down a couple spots. We were streaming all over the place, and look, we found our three main audiences and our three main places. So if you're watching from any of those, share it around and get some other people involved. We love to have the interaction. That's what makes this show fun. We've got some fun stuff towards the end we'll get into with that. Ben is a Hogs hater, so I like he's got a nickname for it already. But yeah, let's get into this here. I've called this show From Baseball at the Beach to Gateway to the West. For those that don't know, Gateway to the West is kind of the nickname for Omaha, the city of Omaha there in the West. And Baseball at the Beach is what Coastal Carolina called their I mean, technically it was part of regular season, but it was the first tournament that they hosted down there in Conway from the year. So literally fitting and an accurate description as far as that stuff is concerned. One note that I have, it's kind of interesting. We talked about this, guys, in the group chat. Louisiana is the only official Sunbelt school to have ever gone to the College World Series. So it is a big deal that Coastal's gone back, obviously for them themselves, but really for the Sunbelt in general as well. I mean, Seth, I don't know what you think about that. Was, you know, with what we've heard and what we've covered and how much we've talked about the Sunbelt not being a mid-major conference, was it a little surprising to hear that only one of our schools had technically been as a Sunbelt member?
Yeah, it is a little surprising. Going to Omaha is huge for Coastal, but it's also huge for us three, you know? the whole purpose of this show. This is a huge deal for us. For 2 years, we've covered sunbelt baseball, and this is kind of the promised land for us. We're going midway through June, and we're still doing a show. It's huge for Coastal as a team. Very big for the conference. That's what we're here for, is to cover the entire conference. At the beginning of the year, if you had asked us, if you had to pick a team to go to Omaha, which out of the Sunbelt, who would it be? This is probably the one we're choosing. We talk about mid-major, and you're the one, especially Dom, to correct the mid-major comment. But this doesn't come around often. The Sunbelt as a whole, not only Coastal, but the Sunbelt in general, this is something we should all embrace. This is kind of the promised land of Sunbelt baseball.
Yeah. Louisiana made it in 2020. So it's been 5 years. Marv, what are your thoughts on the conference really, truly, formally only sending one team before Coastal Carolina this year?
Yeah, it's a little surprising, to be completely honest. Listen, baseball's hard, right? To get through a regional and then a super regional and get to Omaha, that's no easy task. I'm going to disagree with Seth a little bit. You think at the beginning of the year and even towards like halfway through the season, if you would have said what Sunbelt team's going to make it to Omaha, I don't think Coastal was playing its best baseball then. And then,
right.
I think everything speaks for itself, right? The 23 games in a row now, which is just absolutely ridiculous. I think the team, the pitching has been phenomenal all year, but the bats were kind of quiet through stretches of the season. But man, they've come back to life in the postseason. But kind of like what I will agree with Seth on is it's huge for the conference. Obviously, huge for Coastal as an institution, but for the conference, anytime that you're not in one of the big money conferences, you're always fighting for recognition. And here we are. And I wish you had a Peyton Manning voiceover for every time we said Omaha, because that would be hilarious. But, man, happy to have somebody out of our conference represent our conference in the World Series. And, we were texting today, said, hot take, guys, Coastal's going to win it. And you guys were like, that's not a hot take. That's very realistic. And it is. I mean, I truly believe they have the best pitching staff in this tournament. And if the bats can stay hot, just riding that wave of momentum they have, it would be a cooler show here next week if we're talking about the Sunbelt bringing home a national championship.
Yes, it would. I'd be all for it. I've jumped on the train. You can call me a bandwagoner or whatever you want to call me. I'm supporting the Sunbelt. That's literally the point of this show, as we've talked about, as you guys have just both said. So, yeah, I mean, I'm all for it. I think a lot of people have, though. That's the cool thing. I've seen a lot of Southern Miss fans say, go win it, go win it for the conference, because that's the one thing that you do have to hark on. Some people hate on the SEC for saying, oh, your conference supremacy, SEC. No one else chants their conference, right? Well, we don't really believe that we're truly a mid-major in baseball, especially the teams at the top, right? They're not mid-major programs, but the moniker is going to be assigned to us whether we like it or not for the most part. And it certainly fits in other sports, right? In basketball, in football. I mean, there's no doubt that we are mid-major, G5s, whatever people want to call us. We're trying to change that in baseball. These types of things and these victories go towards changing that. And without them, you're just always loud and you're never doing anything about it. So go be loud and do something about it. Bring us back some more respect, and we can keep talking about the conference, how we've been talking about it, and no one can say anything to us at that point. Ben is thinking that A-State might be the last team to beat Coastal Carolina. I did fact check that real quick. College of Charleston, yeah, and then Wake Forest before that, and then it was Arkansas State, and they only got one out of the 3 games there. But yes, you did take a game from Coastal Carolina. To note, Marv, you touched on this. No team has ever entered the College World Series on a win streak like Coastal Carolina has at 23 games. Now,
17 was the max before this, right?
Was it? I know it wasn't. It was a good one too, but 23 is insane. What is it? Northeastern came into the NCAA regionals at 26, I think.
I can't remember. Do you remember watching? I was watching the Coastal Super Regional, and the commentators made a comment that said, after College of Charleston beat Coastal in their last defeat, that the coach of College of Charleston walked up to the coach of Coastal Carolina and said, "Hey, I know you're a little dejected right now, but I don't think you guys lose another game for the rest of the season."
I did not hear that, but that's
and it was part of the broadcast, which was really cool
nice.
to hear that. But I don't know if he was just saying that to like cheer him up or whatnot, but hell, if it didn't turn out to be true.
Yeah, I mean, he saw something. That's why he's a coach, right? Like he saw whatever is come to fruition at this point.
It might have been like, man, you guys are close, but I think you figured it out. But, you know, I know when Coastal won in 16, they were technically a member of the Big South. But if they were to win it, 2 natties in 9 years, like that would be just insane and would catapult them and the conference. And they would be hell to deal with for the next couple of years because, you know, with that's going to come better recruiting, better resources, and you know, a rising tide lifts all ships. So it'll be great for the conference.
Yeah, absolutely.
One thing I am a little curious about, since this is like new territory, is I wonder if money, you know, you talk about money, the root of all evil. Does the conference as a whole, do you like the Final Four? You know, you always hear if you're in basketball, the school, you know, to make the Final Four, the conference makes X amount of money. I wonder if the same is in baseball, having the team make it to Omaha, if the university makes its chunk off of everything, or if the conference, or how all that works.
I'm Google searching that right now.
I was going to say that is interesting because you bring up a great point. The money is seemingly known for football and basketball. I haven't seen it talked about for baseball, and obviously baseball is always kind of considered that non-revenue sport, right, for the most part, for most schools. But
this a quick AI overview on a Google chat says the NCAA media right deals with ESPN are distributed to the schools, conferences, and the NCAA for money generated from the College World Series. So there is a payout. I'm not sure what it is. It's obviously not going to be what football or basketball is, but there is additional money that gets pumped in.
Interesting. Okay. Well, that makes sense. I mean, there should be, but like you said, probably not quite football or basketball.
This thing says that the College World Series reported revenue is about $7.8 million.
Still a good chunk of change.
But it says that the expenses of the tournament are $7.2 million.
Wow.
Oh, wow. Okay. So that's a little different.
Yeah, but I think that has nothing to do with the media rights. I think that's just how much money they bring in versus how much it costs to run the event. That the media rights are obviously completely separate, I would assume.
True. Okay. That makes sense. One more note on the conference overall. We've talked about it, about teams that have made it. And so far, again, officially Louisiana, Coastal Carolina, the only 2 sunbelt teams to make it to Omaha, with this year included. We did have members of other conferences or independents make it in the past. So South Alabama, Coastal, as we talked about with the Big South, Georgia Southern have all gone to Omaha as members of other conferences or independents, of the case of South Alabama being the independent there. Southern Miss, Troy, and Texas State have each gone as far as super regionals, but not advanced any farther. We thought Southern Miss was going to have a pretty decent shot at that this year. Unfortunately, it wasn't to be. But that kind of wraps up as far as the teams that have, you know, had some national prominence in baseball, but unfortunately not quite gotten to, I don't know if you really call this the mountaintop, right? Because it's not over yet, but you are in the elite company with 8 other teams there in the tournament at this point. And then let's take a look at the bracket here to talk about the other teams that did make it. And you know what? I think I'm going to go full screen for this one, make it as readable as possible. So Coastal Carolina goes up against Arizona. I guess we technically haven't said that to this point, but that is the first game of the College World Series in general. We also have Oregon State going up against Louisville, UCLA matching up with Murray State, Arkansas versus LSU. That's it. That's all she wrote. To note, 5 of these 8 teams remaining are national seeds, and I'll be damned if Coastal Carolina shouldn't been one as well. So it should be 6 of 8. Unfortunately, it is not. But last year in this tournament, there was 4 teams from the SEC, 4 teams from the ACC. This year, 7 different conferences and 1 independent are being represented. So 2 from the SEC, and everybody else is the single representation of their conference. So I don't know, guys. What do you think about that? And then we'll roll that into the Friday game starting at 2 Eastern, 1 Central time. But go back to the bracket first. Let's see what you guys think on some of the other matchups and what we may see. Let's go with Oregon State, Louisville. Let's start with Seth there at the top. See what he has to say about that one and what he thinks. Just overview. I don't know. We're not going to
overview. It's kind of. It's hard to say. Baseball is so tough, man. Like you see the number one seed Vanderbilt go out in 3 games. You see a team like Murray State. We're not as surprised about Coastal getting in, but I know Louisville had to have a couple different things happen to be able to host a super regional. Oregon State plays on the West Coast, so I'm not watching a whole lot of their games late at night. I'm gonna roll with Louisville. I like LSU over Arkansas. I think Coastal cruises past Arizona. What else we got?
Murray State, UCLA, man.
Murray State, all the way. Go Racers.
Is that a heart pick though? Is that a heart pick though, or would you like be comfortable enough that you're like I'd put $5 on them winning?
I mean, they put a lot of runs up. I watched a couple of games, especially against Duke. I don't know, man. I can't predict any game with absolute confidence. I'll put it that way.
Okay. All right. Makes sense. Marv, what are your thoughts on some of these other series before we talk a little bit more about Coastal and Arizona?
So I watched some of the Oregon State Super Regional. They've got some dudes on the mound. Like I think the Oregon State Coastal matchup, if both of them go through, just their bullpens, I think that's a pretty even matchup. I think if you would have talked at the beginning of the tournament, like back to the regionals, you would have said that Louisville would be the sole representative of the ACC. I don't think anybody would have took you up on that.
Right.
I don't think they were preseason ranked. So I'm going to take Oregon State over Louisville, Coastal over Arizona, and then in that loser bracket game, I'm going to take Arizona over Louisville, and I think Louisville gets knocked out earlier. I don't know a ton about UCLA, and I don't know a ton about Murray State either, but yeah, I'm going to heart pick this one. Just underdog. You talking about playing with house money, right? Like, I don't think was Murray State ever ranked at any point during the season.
Nope.
No, I don't think they were. You got a bunch of guys that obviously believe in each other and are just, taking that underdog and putting that chip on their shoulder, and they're, carrying it in the same direction. I think they win a game. I don't know if it's a loser bracket game or if they can get past UCLA. Arkansas, LSU. Does anyone know? They obviously played a series against each other this year. Does anyone know how that series turned out?
No, but I'll look that up now that you've asked because that is interesting.
I'm going to take LSU just because Mason would kill me if I didn't. But
did you watch any of the Arkansas-Tennessee series? I didn't see any of it.
I watched a little bit of the second game, but not enough to really know too much about them. I mean, listen, LSU won the national championship 2 years ago. Arkansas was preseason number 1, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe preseason number 3, number 1 at the end of the year. I'm kind of on pins and needles until Dom tells me who won their series this year in conference.
LSU won the series 2-1, but listen to how they did it. First of all, it was number 6 LSU versus number 3 Arkansas at the time, so it's really not that much different now, right? But LSU won the first game 5-4 in 10 innings, so we got a close one. Okay. Second game, LSU won 13-3 in just 7 innings, so a run rule there in that one. And then they dropped the last one 7-4. So all that considered, really not a lot of difference between the two teams, right?
Was that in Baton Rouge or was that in Fayetteville?
That was at the box. So that was down there in Baton Rouge.
Okay. So neutral site. Yeah, I'd lean LSU on that one. But, pretty balanced bracket in my opinion. I think UCLA and Arizona are pretty even. Then you got Louisville and Murray State, two teams that no one would thought would be, and then you got some top-heavy teams. I mean, Oregon State's been I think they were preseason 8 and ended up 6. Like, they've been a super solid team all year, and then Coastal Carolina 23 wins in a row. I mean, that just speaks for itself.
Yeah, absolutely. I do want to go back to one thing real quick. Eddie Brantley has corrected us. Southern Miss went to Omaha in 2009. Again, not as a member of the sunbelt, but they unfortunately posted an 0-2 record. So they were eliminated quickly in 2009, but they did go. So technically we have 3 teams that have gone to Omaha. I do want to correct that. And TJ jump in and say, "What's up, boys? What's going on, TJ?" Oh, man. So my quick thoughts, I think Oregon State takes care of Louisville quick and easy. I just don't think Louisville is powerful enough. Again, Oregon State's kind of got the history and tradition. Louisville's kind of gone on a fun run here, but I just don't trust them to get it done over Oregon State. I thought Florida State would take down Oregon State. We talked about that one, Marv. And had they gotten that first one, I think they were up 5-1, and then they dropped that one to Oregon State in the supers. And so, man, that's rough because that probably changes the whole trajectory of the weekend. But they dropped that one. So Oregon State gets by. Now I feel like they've got it. You know, they're going on a little bit of a run themselves here. I think I said it last week though, too. I thought Murray State's run against Duke was going to come to an end.
Yeah.
It didn't. So let's go look like an idiot twice, and I'll pick UCLA to take care of Murray State in that first game. I hope I'm wrong. How about that? That's for the racers right there. I would love to be wrong. I don't want to see UCLA move on, but again, no one's eliminated after these first rounds anyway. LSU versus Arkansas. I don't know, man. That's literally a coin toss to me, kind of like you were saying, Marv, and I think, Seth, you were kind of thinking about it being a close one. So I'll go Arkansas just to throw one out there. And I'm obviously taking Coastal over Arizona. And I'll tell you, my specific reason isn't like one player or one specific intangible, but it was a moment that sold me on this Coastal Carolina team being in it to win it this year and having what it takes. So they're in that game against Auburn. They're up a couple runs, rain delay, right? They come out in a rain delay. Nothing's really going well for them. Auburn comes back, ties the game up. Never takes the lead, but ties the game up, puts all the pressure on Coastal Carolina to come back and get it done or lose and be, down a game on the road in the supers with all the pressure to have to win the next one just to force a game 3. And instead of dropping that game, and instead of going, it's just not going our way after this rain delay, we'll just be ready for tomorrow. They battled back and they won that one in extras and just got it done. And I felt like that sold me on this team playing for each other and playing to win a national championship, not just playing to win a supers. And that doesn't mean it's going to happen, but I'm sold on this team not going down easy. And we saw what Arizona did in their first game up against UNC. That was ugly. I don't know if Coastal could replicate that, but I don't think they need to. We've seen them also beat a team like ECU who gave them a lot of trouble. Still won that one in a hard-fought 1-0 victory. So, yeah, I'm picking Coastal to move on, and then it gets real interesting after that because obviously, as we know, the competition continues to get tougher. So they match up that first one with Arizona Friday at 2 p.m. And I think that's on anyone know off the top of their head? I think I have it right here.
It was on the bracket. I hope they get the big station.
ESPN. That's right. ESPN.
Yeah.
And those, if you can read those teeny tiny numbers there, those all are central times because of it being played in Omaha. But East Coast wise, it'll be an hour before. So it says 1 p.m. there. It'll be a 2 p.m. start for most of the viewing people that have been tuning in right now, I think. But yeah, I mean, you guys, anything more specific about this matchup or about what you think Coastal may be capable of on this run here in Omaha this year specifically?
I don't have any more commentary. Once again, I just think they're hot. And, watching Arizona, I mean, they got clubbed in that first game against Carolina, watching them come back and take game 2, be down in game 3 and come back and win it. I think you talked a lot about the resiliency of Coastal. If I'm not mistaken, in game 2 against Auburn, they were down until the 7th or 8th inning and put up a 3 spot. I think it was in the bottom of the top of the 8th, and then got an insurance run. Just gritty. We know they've got arms.
You're close. Sorry, I just wanted to, because you're right on that. They were down 1-0 till the 7th. The top of the 7th is when they put up the 3.
Okay, and then they got another one in the 9th.
Or 8th. They didn't have to play the 9th.
That's right. My biggest question is, who do you throw on Friday? Or do you save your ace for Sunday, assuming that you're probably going to get –
No, you win now.
You win the first one?
You can't afford – well, look what happened to Southern Miss when they saved JB.
Yeah, well, they won with JB though.
But
True.
Yeah, but they lost the first game of the regional, correct?
They did. Yeah, they lost their first game
For saving JB.
Yeah, well, they were going against a 4 seed. I think the logic there.
But they got beat.
They did get beat, and
there you go.
I look at it, we've got a tournament coming up this weekend, and we've got a similar scenario. It's like, hey, do you throw your ace the first night and just hope to be in the winner's bracket, get the extra day off, and then save your second guy, or do you throw your second guy and say, hey, no matter what happens, win or lose, we know we've got the guy still available that hasn't thrown a pitch. That's I guess that's why those coaches get paid a whole bunch of money, and I do it for free.
I think going down in game 1 is going to set you back. I think you put all your chips in from the very beginning.
Yeah, there's a lot of logic that says you cannot win the race when your fastest horse is in the barn.
But going back to what you said, Marv, you used the word gritty. I think that's Coastal to a T. I think we were texting during the Coastal Old Dominion game, and I said something about how Coastal was down by like 3 in the 7th, and Dom just laughed. He was like, "Nah, it's far from being over. Like that team's going to find a way to win." And I wouldn't count Arizona. I mean, boys, there's a reason there's 8 teams in Omaha. Every team deserves to be there. So I wouldn't say Friday's an easy win by any means. You play to win the game to begin with.
Yeah. TJ has a good one. I've got Louisville over Oregon State. Won the series against UNC and Florida State with a win over Vandy. Tough end of the season for Louisville, but when they're good, they're sneaky, and they seem to be a little sneaky right now. Eddie's bringing up a great point as well. Coastal has more than one ace. So let's say this. They went with Fluky on the mound in the first game against Auburn, and he looked great. And the only reason that game was close in my mind is because of that rain delay. It changed the whole trajectory of how that game was going and how it felt. So I don't think going with Fluky in the first game is a bad matchup. I mean, this Coastal pitching staff, as some people have said, is arguably the best stable of pitchers in the country. And I
100% agree with that. I don't think anyone's as deep. Top 3 starters, and then bullpen-wise as Coastal is. And once again, Coastal's arms have been phenomenal all season. They carried them through the first half of that season until the bats got warmed up. Yeah,
I went through Arizona's record, right, and kind of looked at their first game in a series. That's not exactly what this is. This is a one-off game. It's going to be treated a little bit differently than what they did throughout the season. However, they started off a little bit better at the beginning of the year, winning their first games of the series. And then towards the end, they started dropping those first games of the series. It wasn't totally consistent. It's not a total flip. They had a couple wins to start some series. But kind of an interesting thought process, because you see what just happened at UNC in that first one. Do you say, you like what you saw out of Fluky in that first game against Auburn? You like the fact that Arizona's starter got lit up pretty good in that first game against UNC, and say, hey, I think I'm rolling with this. And then that saves you, Morrison, for the next game, or someone else. I mean, you don't even have to throw him necessarily, depending on what the matchup looks like to you. The nice part is, I guess I should say, maybe you'll agree with this, guys, is Coastal has plenty of options that they're going to feel comfortable with. I don't think they're going to go in using any of their pitchers and go, well, I hope he can just do enough to get us through. Like that's not how they're going to be thinking. Most teams won't at this point of the season, but I think there's a couple other teams that are probably, let's just say Murray State, for example. I don't know if they have a deep enough pitching rotation to think that, anybody besides their ace is going to be getting them very far. I don't know.
They made it this far. You never know. I don't know. I mean, once again, Fluky and Morrison. I think Morrison would be considered the ace. Let's not kid ourselves. Sunbelt pitcher here, but if Fluky's your number 2 option, you're okay.
Yeah. TJ saying Coastal over Arizona. No surprise there, but a lot closer than people expect. 1-run game, possibly extras. We remember what happened in day 1 of Omaha last year, and this is a rematch of 2016, guys. So don't let that fool you. Obviously, these kids really don't have anything to do with what happened back then. But the last time Coastal was in Omaha, so was Arizona. So there's a little revenge on Wildcats fans' minds when it comes to this one. And again, does that play into what happens on the field? Probably not in the least bit. But there will be some juice for the people in the stands and the people watching at home from the Arizona side because of past history. So could be a little interesting storyline there, I guess. We'll see what happens with that. I did want to bring up something, and I don't have graphics prepared for this, and if I bring this up, it shows all the comments. But there was a couple things shown for the teams that made it to Omaha, and they're like 3. I don't know how they narrowed it down, but D1 Baseball put out like notable alumni for the 8 schools. So Arkansas's got Jerry Jones, Patrick Beverly, and John Daly. For those people that didn't know, they went to Arkansas. Arizona has Kourtney Kardashian, Nick Foles, quarterback formerly of the Eagles, and Rob Gronkowski.
Yeah.
So, a football heavy.
Hey, Dom, just for the fun of it, you're sitting there looking at it. For the remaining teams, let's see if me and Marv can guess some alumni that might be on that list.
You should get at least one from Coastal Carolina, and they're the next up. So let's see what you can get from that.
Dustin Johnson.
Hey.
Josh Norman.
Josh Norman is one, but he's not on this. It's only 3. A Netflix series star. I'll say that if that's ringing any bells. I don't know if you guys have ever watched it, but
can you tell me the show?
Outer Banks.
Unfortunately, I have watched that show. My wife watched it. I'm not going to.
Girl or boy?
It's a woman. It's a woman. I did not. I will say this. I've watched the show. I like that show. I kind of got into it. At least season 1, season 2 seems to be a little out there, and I haven't kept up with it as much. But I did not know that she attended Coastal Carolina, so I will say that part. I don't know if that's something that was really well known before this or not.
The blonde.
TJ's got it. I'm not going to put it up on the screen, but TJ's got it over here on the side.
The girl he marries. Yeah.
Her name is Madeline Klein. So
there you go.
If you see her and you've ever watched the show, you'll know who she is instantly. But honestly, if you didn't tell me her name, I got to be honest, I wouldn't have known it.
Fun fact: the other girl is from Kernersville. I didn't know if you knew that or not.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
I did not know that. Interesting.
And the show's filmed in Charleston. So there you go.
All right, moving on.
On the Otter Match.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Oh man, TJ has a good thing about Coastal statistically that we'll get into as well. Michael Kelly, which the name again, if you told me his name, I wouldn't have known it, but I instantly recognize his face. He's an actor, been in a bunch of stuff. Not necessarily like the main guy, but he's been a well-known actor in some series here. I don't know if I could maybe just pull up something he's been in that you might know. Oh, it pulled up Michael Kelly baseball actor. Let me see if that pulls up something better for us. House of Cards. He was in House of Cards, a big person in that. I don't know. Is that ringing any bells? You guys watch House of Cards?
Can't say I have.
No. It was in the Jack Ryan thing, Transformers movie. But again, see, all these are. Anyway, you probably recognize his face. But all right, moving on. That one didn't hit, so we're gonna go on. LSU.
Paul Skeens.
I'm surprised they didn't have him, but they didn't have him listed. There's 2 women and 1 male.
Olivia Dunn.
Yep. That's one.
Paul Skeens and Olivia Dunn, you can just combine that into a package.
Right.
Joe Burrow.
That one, there was a lot of people putting that as the comment. He's not listed. It's a basketball player. Very obvious when you
Pete Maravich.
Marv got it. Shaquille O'Neal. Shaq.
What? Pete Maravich.
No.
Angel Reese.
That one would have been a better choice than what I think is on here, but there's a social media star. Again, this one, no clue she had gone to LSU at any point in time, but Addison Rae. I'm sure you've heard of her. She does a lot of this TikTok dancing crap. Anyway.
Yeah, I don't have TikTok, so that eliminates me.
Louisville.
Horses.
Muhammad Ali.
Well, he's from Louisville, but I don't think he attended Louisville.
Yeah.
Scott Satterfield.
Good choice, but no.
Great choice.
TJ also threw out Angel Reese for LSU, but that was not one. These two males, one female, the female's a broadcaster, very famous, and two football players.
Burt.
No, Diane Sawyer, which I didn't know she went to Louisville.
Interesting.
Diane Sawyer. I didn't think you guys would get that one, so I'll give you that one. You should get the two football players. Just think a little bit. One's a prominent player right now. One had two football players currently in the NFL. I think both of them are still currently in the NFL. One may have retired a year or two ago, maybe.
Teddy Bridgewater.
Yep.
Jair Alexander.
Nope. More famouser. Plays for a purple team. He's the quarterback.
More famouser.
Plays for the Vikings?
No, another purple team.
Oh, gosh. Ravens. Holy crap. Lamar Jackson.
Yep. This is fun. I'm glad we're doing this. This is a kind of a fun thing. And everyone else is like watching this going like, I'm turning the channel.
You can throw UCLA out the window because they have probably a famous alumni list that's longer than everybody else combined.
Yeah, Oregon State, I'm stumped on them as well. So,
well, there's one that I think you should get from Murray State. They're up next. I don't know the other two.
No, John Moran.
John Moran. That one's obvious, right? I mean, the most famous basketball player to come out of Murray State. Leva Bates. She's wearing a Supergirl shirt. I don't know if that means she was in that show, but I've never heard of her. And Chriselle Stassi. I think one of those like TV shows on something. I feel like maybe Housewives, something. I have no idea.
Yeah, drawn away.
Yeah, that one we're moving on from. Oregon State. One I've never heard of, and two I've definitely heard of. Two are athletes, one football player, one basketball player. The other guy's a UFC fighter.
Who's the UFC fighter?
Colby
Covington. Yeah, Colby Covington. Yeah.
Okay, I never heard of him. I don't watch the UFC, so there you go.
I'm stumped on both.
Yeah. That's the Pacific Coast bias. You'll probably say it and like, oh yeah, I know who that is. I had no clue.
Exactly. You're going to know both of these players immediately. It's just I don't think to me I don't associate either one of them with Oregon State, and I never have in my life before now.
Can you tell us? Are they in the NFL currently?
No. Both of these guys are retired.
Can you tell us what team they play for?
Cincinnati Bengals and the Seattle Supersonics, and yes, they were the Seattle Supersonics at that point in time.
Sean Kemp?
No, but close.
Gary Payton?
Yes, the glove, Gary Payton.
Nice.
The other one's probably even more famous, and he is kind of back in the social media spotlight right now.
What team was he on again?
Cincinnati Bengals.
Ocho.
Yep, Ocho Cinco, baby.
Really?
Yep. I did not know that. I can't lie. I had no idea. Either Gary Payton or Chad Ochocinco. DJ saying, Ocho. Yeah, surprised by that one. All right, and UCLA rounds it out. Okay, Seth, you have to get one. And there's one in the middle that's a woman that I don't know. I don't know who she is. And then there's a very famous actor.
Kareem.
Well,
Bill Walton.
No, but that's funny because TJ also took that one. That's not who they listed, but I agree. He should have been one of them.
Is it Kareem?
No. So football player, quarterback.
Oh, Joey Aguilar.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's phenomenal.
I like how you tied that back into the sunbelt, Seth. Well done, sir. Well done.
Phenomenal.
Deshaun Foster.
No. Listen, Seth, your favorite team quarterback. There's really only one you've ever had.
Oh,
I mean,
Troy Aikman.
Yeah, there you go.
Thank you.
Man, I thought you were going to go Tony Romo, but I knew better than that.
Yeah. Well, Staubach was pretty good too, but we'll go with that. Jordan Childs. Don't know, honestly. No. Sorry, I don't know that name. It looks like she's wearing gymnastics clothes, so maybe she's a gymnast.
Yeah, we'll take that.
Sorry, I don't know. I don't unless it's Olympics, and then even then, I don't necessarily remember the names. The last one, an actor, comedic actor. He had his own band. It was a 2-person band.
Jack Black.
Yep. Nice. That was good. That was solid. Okay, TJ saying Childs is an Olympic gymnast. That was fun. I like that. I like that one a lot. And then I have one other fun one. We're at like 42 minutes in here, 40 minutes in. This one was really interesting. I'd like to see what your guys' thoughts are. Oh, TJ had another good one. UCLA, Jackie Robinson. That would have been a great pick too. Yeah, I don't know what I can't tell you what D1 baseball chose those people for specifically. I don't know if it was just a couple people and some of them weren't thought about or what. But anyways, this is the most important question. We know that there's a restaurant across the street, or a bar, I guess more appropriately, across the street from the stadium or thereabout, called Rocco's, that does the Jello shots. Yeah. There's only 8 teams that are ever on the board. LSU has set records in the past. They intend to do something like that, although the first 100 were bought from Murray State by somebody already.
Nice.
We'll see what happens with this one. And let me see. I have the name here because I don't want to mispronounce it. My thought process is the former chairperson of TD Ameritrade, which, just so happens to have their name on the freaking stadium in Omaha. And he used to coach a team there as well. He was the head coach of I think it was a football team there. Joe Moglia.
Yeah, he was yeah.
He's just a billionaire. Okay. So my guess, since all this money pretty much goes to charity anyway, is Coastal will be well represented on the Jello Shot board. With that being said, gentlemen, do you eat or drink a Jello Shot?
Eat.
Yeah, you eat it because you eat Jello.
Dang, we didn't have anybody disagree, huh?
No.
Yeah. No. Okay, so that's way more boring than I thought this was about to be. I said eat earlier today as well because I said you don't really have to like chew hard. It's not difficult, but
I'm trying to think of what the last time I had a Jello Shot was.
I know. Well, we might need to change that this weekend.
Oh man, I feel like high school all over again.
Yeah. DJ saying you don't do either. You get something else.
Yeah.
I think usually I would do that as well. I'd be like, I'm not going to take a Jello Shot. I'll drink an alcoholic beverage like an adult. But
I'm not a 17-year-old high school girl. No, thank you.
Yeah, but with the venue and the fact that it's for charity and it's always a competition and a fun, friendly competition, I'm participating in the Jello Shot if I'm in Omaha. There's no doubt about it. I would just agree with the two of you and say you eat a Jello Shot.
Yeah.
I guess there's people out there that like don't chew it at all and just swallow it whole, but I'm not trying to choke myself like that. So
what's wrong with these people?
I don't know. Straight. I don't know. Straight hardcore. I have no idea. But yeah. Okay. Well, that was a little boring. I thought that would be a little talking point. At least one person would choose drink, but no. Apparently, we all think you eat a Jello Shot, and so yeah. That segment brought to you by nothing because it was so short. But yeah, I am looking forward to that. Obviously, all 3 of us would have loved to have attended in Omaha. For those of you going, I would say as I've gotten older and done this and covered more teams and tried to kind of be more close to a lot more teams than I ever have in the past, as an outsider to other sporting events that I've had, I'll just go enjoy it. Obviously, Coastal's going in with the expectation of winning it and doing very well and advancing and all that. But as a fan, like go to the before game stuff, go out afterward, get to meet new people, do the Jello shots, do a burger challenge or whatever else Omaha has to offer. Because the one thing that we did find, because we were all talking about this, from here where Marv and I are at, and Seth's probably close by because Charlotte's probably in a similar price range, but from Raleigh-Durham area, a flight to Omaha, this is without hotel, no rental car, no ticket in hand, a flight to Omaha, as I checked last week, over $700 face value. $700. So it's not cheap.
Let me ask this question, Tom. If App had a great program and App had made Omaha, you coughing up $700?
No.
Honestly, so here's the other thing, right? I'd
be on a bird tomorrow. I'd be on an airplane tomorrow, getting out there early.
What if it was a college football playoff, Dom?
Yeah, because it's a one-off. I know I'm going to see the game no matter what. Like, so this is my part about spending that type of money, right? You're at least getting 2 games. You do know that. And if you go at the beginning, you know that. But then, like, I don't know very many people that could afford to take off that much time and spend that much money to stay for 8 days or more.
You could be there for a week. Yeah, you book a one-way flight out and a one-way flight back when it's done.
Yes. So for that reason, even if my favorite team went, I just don't know for a fact if I'd be willing to spend that kind of money for really very little assurance.
Right. Drive out there, Red Roof Inn, go to the game, under $300 a person. You're good.
Well, what I've heard, and this is the interesting aspect, because I've seen a lot of Coastal fans on Twitter talking about this, and if anybody's watching and have gone and have some experience, you can let us know. I've seen that they say that, when I went in 2016, I didn't have tickets. I just went out there, and there's teams that lose and then end up selling their tickets, and you get them really good deal, right? Because they're not going to stick around. They're going to try and recoup some of their money type of stuff. So it'll be interesting to see if now in 2025 that remains the same or if ticket prices are insane. I know ticket prices for everything else have gone crazy. So it'll be interesting to see if the scalpers hold firm on tickets.
From what I was told, if every sports fan could attend the College World Series, the outlook of college baseball would be forever changed. Apparently it's a life-changing experience. It's unbelievable. It's so much fun. Unfortunately, not everybody gets to experience it. College baseball it ranks middle of the pack of what the following of people around the United States actually cares about. But if everybody could attend the World Series, I believe college baseball would be up there in the top 3 for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I saw one post I think was done by a bartender in the Omaha area showing you clips and little short videos of it's literally a party scene right now. Yeah, I would assume most of those people are kind of college age or just out, not really having kids and all that kind of stuff yet. If that was my age group and my age bracket at this point in time, yeah, I'm trying to get there. But being a little bit older now, it's like, I mean, that's a scene I could take for like an hour. I don't know if I'm staying out till 2 a.m. with all those other crazy.
Your team's winning. You're kind of feeling the vibe. You could get sucked into that really quickly.
Yeah, no, that's true. I could probably do it. I have no problem staying up to those hours. I just probably anymore these days have a problem drinking that long.
I can see Tom up at 2:00 in the morning after having 26 Jello shots roaming around Omaha.
I'm more worried about getting in bed before 9:00 than I am drinking the night before. Right? If I'm up past 9:00, I don't care how many beers. I don't drink to begin with, but me staying out past 9:00 is more deadly than me drinking all night. I promise you that.
Very true.
Man. Yeah, you're just out to pasture if you're drinking. But yeah, I would love. I mean, if it was drivable, like you're talking 10 hours or something, like I would.
I just looked it up. From my house, if I left right now, it's 19 and a half hours.
Wow.
Yeah.
So maybe it's 19 from mine because I'm about half hour. I'd say probably a half hour closer.
Probably for Seth, it's like 16.
Right.
I have driven it before.
Yeah, you have.
I will say, kind of piggybacking what I said earlier. I mean, how fun is it for us three to be able, to be able to talk about this? That's kind of the goal for us every year. beginning of the year, we talk about what we think is going to happen, and this is the ultimate goal right here is Omaha. And we came damn near close to 2 teams getting, having a chance at Omaha.
Yeah. Guys, you got to
Sunbelt-
think that Southern Miss wins that last game. They host the Super.
Yeah.
Yep.
We were
And
talking.
they host a super against Louisville, who, I mean, they've been looking good, right? But I don't think they came in being like a stud program. So I don't know.
I mean, they're once again they've got hot at the right time, right? They're playing good baseball now. But if you would have told me that it would have been Southern Miss and Miami at the Pete, I'd have been like, well, damn, if I'm in Hattiesburg, I'm probably looking at plane tickets.
Yeah.
We were talking about how the conference we thought was down, was down a little bit this year, but having one team make it all the way to Omaha, I think that kind of resurrects everything else that's happened this year. Only getting 2 teams into a regional. I think
because there's 6 other conferences that only got 1 team in, and there's a boat conferences that got 0 teams in.
Yeah. Yep. So yeah, I mean, it's still a good takeaway in the end. I think from here on out, Coastal's going to look at this season fondly no matter what happens, right? I mean, what they've done and what they've accomplished. I don't think they're going to do it, but even if they somehow went over here and went 0-2, there's still going to be a crowd of people welcoming them back to Conway because what they've accomplished this year is nothing short of phenomenal. And we hope the run continues. I don't know if we're going to be able to do anything live for the 2 p.m. game on Friday. That's pretty tough. Maybe a Twitter Spaces at best. Definitely no video stuff. So if people jump on and off there, but yeah, I don't know what to expect on that. But we will definitely be doing some coverage over the weekend and continuing on as far and as long as Coastal Carolina keeps prevailing, which we hope gets them to next Monday. That's the first of the best of 3 series that would happen. So we'll see what also just other quick note, it is again double elimination, so just like the sunbelt tournament, for anybody who's unfamiliar with how this works, there is no reseeding. That bracket that we put up earlier, it will go straight chalk, next man up, next team up, all the way through. And yeah, I mean, this thing concludes at the latest on June 23rd, so get ready for a couple straight days of college baseball. Pretty much every game is 2-7 or 1-6, if you're looking at Central Time. I think there's one day where it's 1:30 or 2:30 and 7 or 7:30. But everything else,
and win or lose, you're getting a day break between every games, which for a coach has to be until you get closer to the end. But for a coach managing arms, that's got to be phenomenal.
Yeah, definitely a welcome change from regionals and super regionals. So we'll see what goes on there. But any last thoughts to share before we get out of here tonight, fellas?
Go Chants.
Yeah, Coastal, bring it home.
Yep, I'll correct you, Seth, because I was corrected last episode. Actually, it was on the Twitter Spaces we did. It's Chants.
You have to be very fancy in Conway.
Yes, Chants. But I can't be too hard on them because we do it with the Appalachian State stuff all the time. So I will respect it because I hate that one, as most App fans do. So Chants it is. Yeah, Chants up, as they say in Conway. Hopefully we see a victory to start us off here on Friday. It ain't over if there isn't one. So, there we go. Eddie Brantley. So the Southern Miss fan, Eddie, is saying go Chants as well. See, there you go. Just what we talked about there with a lot more of the Sunbelt, hoping that Coastal continues to represent for the conference and get it done. And until we see you next time, thanks for tuning in.
See you.